Yo, what's happening everybody? King GBL here, and welcome back to some Go Battle League. After almost 2 weeks of no videos, we're finally back, showcasing another very strong team for the Open Great League. During these Great League weeks, I tend to upload a lot less, just because a lot of the teams have been showcased already, and I do find this to be the least enjoyable league in Go Battle League in general. However, to finish out the week strong, I have 2 or 3 very strong teams to showcase, and we're going to check out one of them today. Azumarill Double Ghost. A team as old as time, old but gold, whatever way you want to put it. This team is still performing very well in Go Battle League. Now normally with Azumarill Double Ghost, you're running this with Ice Beam. I decided to run this with Hydro Pump just to give it the extra nuke potential, and I found it to be super useful in a lot of cases. If you've played any Great League for the last couple of weeks, you'll see that this league is just absolutely littered with toxic teams. So many Bastiodons everywhere, and so many things that are kind of weak to Hydro Pump. I decided to give myself just an extra option against Basti. Of course, it won't have the Ice Beam for things like Victory Bell, but this league is just insanely toxic at this current moment in time. One of the newest toxic teams is the Breezy team, Wigglytuff Double Fighter, basically Polly and Ape. This team just absolutely shits all over that team, and that's one of the main reasons I decided to run it. Anyway guys, let's hop into the battles. Drop a like if you enjoy, subscribe if you haven't yet done so. With this team, by the way, we went 17 out of 25. It's been the best team I've had this week. In the last 2 weeks, I've dropped from like 2600 down to the 2300s, even into 2200 at certain points, so it's definitely been a rough couple of weeks. With this team and another team I'm going to showcase tomorrow, I've got roughly back up to around Veteran, so I do recommend trying this out. And for anybody who's wondering like where the streams have been lately, I took a good like 3 or 4 days off streaming towards the end of last week. It was actually my birthday on on Friday, so I ended up going to Disneyland and had a few days with the family. So that was part of the reason for me not uploading and streaming over last week, and of course just not really enjoying this league as much has been a big factor here. But we do have Great League Remix coming up for 2 weeks, so very soon we're going to be back to business as usual. Anyway guys, hopping into this battle, the opponent goes for Para Punch, which is an insane bait right here. I've noticed a lot of polys are on Pup recently, so I decided to let that move go. I built up to back-to-back Seed Bombs. The opponent has no choice but to basically let it go. I bait the Typhlosion. I probably only make it to 1 move, but I was just hoping they would get scared and throw, and let's be real, like Typhlosion will shield a wet tissue, so we just throw whatever and they shield. They go for a move here. Now one thing that Typhlosions like to do sometimes is go for a Blast Burn, because believe it or not, a super effective Thunder Punch will do less than a neutral or resisted Blast Burn even. So that's what opponents like to do sometimes. The opponent goes for Thunder Punch here. I decided to let the first move go because they're not going to go straight Blast Burn here. It wouldn't make any sense when I've got 2 shields. We're going to bubble them down, and that's going to be good games for the second match, I guess, here of the video. Good games. In the next one here, we have a Lanturn lead. If this is on Water Gun, it's pretty neutral. If it's on Spark, of course, it's still a winning matchup for them, but as he makes it really close, in comes Mandibles. It is good that we draw this out. We have a Trevenant in the back, which does not want anything to do with Mandy. And as you can see here, if the opponent gets a little bit too greedy, we get off 2 returns, and that'll basically threaten a knockout. So the opponent here is forced to throw. I can get a juicy bubble down, or, you know, a juicy amount of energy with the Azu, and this should be pretty decent. The opponent's on Wee Gun, so we should be fine. I just get an energy lead with Azu. Of course we have a hard answer, and we've got the Mandibles out of the way, so one can hope that whatever they have on the back is not as bad for Trevenant as Mandibles. There aren't many things that hard wall Trevenant worse than this thing, so this should hopefully be fine. We do end up, I think, CMPing the opponent here. I do sort of try to go for an undercharge here, I think, if the game finally responds to my charge move. I go for an undercharge, but this thing's too low. We get rid of it, and actually I'm pretty thankful that we do get rid of it. The opponent comes into a Ninetales. I throw this move right away. The timing is very misaligned whenever opponents are swapping and you're using different turn durations. So depending on when they swap, the duration could be slightly different and it can be quite awkward. Typically what I like to do though, is whenever I'm swapping into an opponent who's using a free turn move, if I'm coming into my 2-turn move Pokemon, I will throw after 6, and that tends to be good timing. And let's say for example I win the lead with a 2-turn move, and the opponent swaps their 3-turn move into me, I typically throw that after 6. So just a good little thing to keep in mind, if you're swapping into the opponent with a 2 versus 3, throw after 5, if they're swapping into you, throw after 6. That might not be 100% optimal, but that's a way that you don't throw an alignment, which of course is the worst thing you can do. In this next matchup here, we have Dewgong. This is a pretty neutral match. So what I found out actually from an opponent is that if they go for double Icy Wind off the start, they can win the zeros. The opponent's actually shielding here, so I'm like, right, okay. Shield your Dewgong against my Azu. These play roughs, they don't really do too much. This is typically a decent match for Azu. The opponent's shielding, Icy Winding away here. I'm pretty happy with this. because of course Dewgong's good into my Trevenant, Sableye up energy always does pretty well, and even Trevenant up energy against flyers that don't have a normal typing does very, very well there, so I'm pretty happy with this. If the opponent wants to give me shields, it's fine. I go for what looks like a CMP, but I think it actually turns out not to be. I think the opponent got denied or something somehow, which is definitely pretty annoying for them, or the game visually lagged. As you can see, there seems to be a decent amount of visual lag in this game. We all know this game's perfect, I don't need to describe that to you. In comes Annihilate, so the opponent's just completely got nowhere to go. That's one great thing about this team as well. Apes don't have anywhere to go against your team. Now, I could shield this, get the move off, but I decide, like, I'd rather just get a juicy farm of Trevenant. Trevenant is going to just absolutely juice this ape out. We go for the catch, just because. I want to keep my 2-shield Trevenant, why not, right? I know they're going to go for Nightslash. I probably can bubble down if they don't go for another move. We should just about live this. I could shield it for the health. I decide I'm just going to put this all on Trevenant at this point, though. The opponent brings in a Clodsire. I watch the top right. Whenever you're in that low health situation, you just watch the top right, see what comes in. We get off a juicy Hydro Pump, and Trevenant's just going to absolutely delete this team. These bubbles are just absolutely ripping through the Clod. I shield up the first move, no reason not to at this point. One Seed Bomb will basically KO. They're actually on Sludge Bomb, which is quite interesting. They go for a very nice catch here, doesn't really matter. So with Stone Edge, it is 776, and I believe Sludge Bomb is 665 on Clodsire. Poison Sting and Mudshot both do the same energy generation. Poison Sting and Mudshot are the exact same move. Anyway guys, the opponent quits the match, we farm it the whole way down with Trevenant, and that's absolute curtains. So typically speaking, like I said, unless they have a Pidgeot or a Noctowl for some crazy or unknown reason, I do think Noctowl is like, it's okay, but it's just not good anymore. Unless they have that, you're basically fine with Trevenant up energy. Even against like Fire Flyers, even Talonflame, one Shadow Ball almost knocks it out. The opponent shits their pants, they shield up the Hydro Pump, and we come into Sableye. I'm not a huge fan of this play, but I sort of decide here at this point that I'm going to just get a move off of Sableye and try to chip them down, and like try to put them into bubble down range. I want to again just try to sweep with Trevenant. Again, the opponent's shitting their pants, insta-throw Andy here. Insta-throwing Andy's just trying to get rid of my Sableye. So it kind of makes me think like, maybe Azu's good in the back. The opponent wanted rid of that thing. They just were immediately. They weren't messing about. So I'm going to go for another Hydro Pump. As I've mentioned to you guys before, XL Eevee, which has got like 1200 CP, beats this thing at TMP in the Great League, so we don't have to worry about this too much. The opponent comes back into Gligar. So this was one thing I was quite worried about. Getting misaligned against the Gligar. I was sort of regretting my choices a little bit. The opponent goes straight for a dig. I'm not messing around here. Free and throw in the Hydro Pump. Whatever the opponent has in the back is definitely weak. Maybe going for this is a little bit ambitious, but the opponent does shield, of course. And this is a little bit tricky. I go for a CMP tie on the Play Rough here. I have to shield this. I can't really let the Trevenant take care of this from here. The opponent's going for another dig. They're not baiting. That's fantastic. Non-Shadow Gligar, can't really afford to bait here. And in comes Ape. We swap immediately. And because we swapped immediately, we can actually outpace to the Shadow Ball. Had we waited for one more turn, we were basically cooked here. The opponent would have outpaced to the Shadow Ball, and they would have been able to take out the Azu. Good games, and in the next battle here, we have an Empoleon lead. Now, the thing that's tricky with Empoleon lead is, of course, it's not a good lead for me, but typically the backline is very good for Azu. So the Azu placement in this team is very vital. The opponent comes into a D-Nair. I might shield here to get both shields off the opponent. Oh, I decided to let this go, and I guess take the energy with Azu. We've already got a shield, so maybe that's fine enough, and we can look to basically come in, tank, I think, 2 Body Slams against the D-Nair, which should be no problem. Of course, they're never going to bubble me the whole way down, and I'm pretty much hoping that whatever they have in the back is something that Trevenant and Azu can tag team, along with the Empoleon. We go for this move at 100 energy here. Typically, you don't want to go to 100 energy unless this is going to be the final move here. We hard swap into the Trevenant, not allowing the opponent to get any extra energy, and they come into a Shoddy Latios. This is craziness. Now, I know that this is a resisted Seed Bomb, bang, like this almost takes them out. They don't even get off the Dragon Claw, and this is basically fine at this point. The opponent gets to the move before me, I just need to get rid of the shield. They cannot afford to let this go, and these Shadow Claws are very vital. This is a Shadow Empoleon, so these Shadow Claws are chunking, and we'll basically put it into roughly Play Rough range. So this should be pretty fine for me here. Azu, of course, up energy, can do pretty fine into Empoleon. It's a very negative matchup in general, but as you can see, that Play Rough is no joke. The opponent does make it to a move. Fortunately for me, they don't make it to back-to-back. So yeah, with the Empoleon teams, it's so awkward, right? Because if they decide to stay in against your Sableye and start throwing moves, well, you're basically screwed. They can outpace you and win CMP and just take out your Sableye. So it's very, very tricky. In the next match, we have a Sandslash lead. This is typically quite neutral. Now, if the opponent decides to throw up shields, they can take this matchup, but I just decide, like, I'm going straight Hydro Pump, not messing around. I can definitely take 2 moves and the opponent just lets that through. They come into Ape, I come into Sableye here, of course having 3 answers to this on the team. The opponent goes for a very nice catch on Mandibuzz, and I'm pretty happy with this. As you can see, this is just basically curtains for the opponent. The opponent can get off moves in Sableye. These, Last Resorts do a lot. They do roughly close to 50%, or sorry, Last Resort, returns. These returns do a lot, they do close to 50% to the Mandy. We get this into just a very decent range, and yeah, this is basically game over. I can even shield here and get a shield off the opponent, but there's really no need to do anything here. We just come into the Azu, start bubbling away, and yeah, this match was pretty RPS. So you do see a few teams similar to this one in the Great League. I've edited out, of course, some of these videos, but yeah, I can let this go at this point. The opponent builds up a little bit of energy. They're on Shadow Ball as well, which I thought was quite funny. I stay in to force the opponent to for energy. This is basically game over. Ice Sponge coming in quite interestingly. I believe the opponent was only a couple off the Ice Sponge again. We'll just basically shield this, farm it the whole way down, and just go for double Seed Bomb on the Mandibuzz, and that's good games. So that match right there had the potential to be very bad for me in some ways. Just the thing about this team again is that we have 3 answers to Ape, right? So like Ape has nowhere to go. That means that their Mandy and Sandslash just have to do everything. The exact moment I landed that Hydro Pump was the exact moment this game was over. Their Ape was just completely hard countered the whole way through the team, and Mandy just can't really stand up to free Pokemon, so good games there. In the next match we have a Dewgong. I believe this is the matchup where they play this in the interesting way. They're going to go for, I believe, straight Icy Wind. Dewgong wins CMP, so you do try to avoid CMP where possible. Yeah, I think the opponent actually wins the zeros here, just by going straight Icy Wind. I'm basically farming up to 1 before the move, thinking they may have something weak to this in the back. Typically whenever I see Dewgong leads, or, you know, like Lickitung leads, Steelix leads, sometimes I think these are here to stay in against basically anything, and try to sort of realign the backline, right? They're here to debuff and just, you know, realign. That's pretty much what they're here for. This team is an ABB team. As you've seen earlier, I decided to swap out of the Dewgong matchup and go into Sableye at a certain point. I'm not too sure why I didn't at this point. I guess I just wanted to play it out. And as you guys can actually see here, we do get them super low, and I decided to take the energy lead with Sableye instead. So that doesn't quite knock us out. We come into Sableye here, get 2 Shadow Claws for him, and we'll see what comes in. The opponent comes into a Scrafty. This is very, very tricky. Now, having watched this back, I do something quite stupid here. I think I shield this. Oh no, I don't shield it because they only went to 6. Okay, thank goodness. I thought I shielded that. The opponent only built up to 6. They go for a pop, and we're going to go for a Foul Play Bait here. Now, Foul Play would be extremely resisted on this, so good thing they shielded. And we're going to shield this next move. They go for another pop. This might have only just been a pop. I think they're trying to just pop through me here. I'm going to go for the big return here, hoping the opponent lets it go. They do let it go. And we come into the Trevenant to go for the farm down. The opponent gets a dying move off. I decide to respect it. They should go for Foul Play right here. Bang, that would have taken me out probably. And in comes Clodsire. This is going to require some management still. 2 Stone Edges will be enough to knock me out. I need to manage this perfectly here. I just basically need to land a Seed Bomb, right? That's all I have to do here. Get this into Foul Play range. The opponent will be forced to throw immediately. Now, Classic Trevenant used to get the Seed Bomb in straight 5. They've increased the damage of this move, but it's now 665. We go for Seed Bomb number 1. We get the CMP tie. That's absolutely huge. That means that we can land this move and basically get the opponent into a Foul Play range. I think, you know, even had we not landed that move, it still has Foul Play range anyway, but the opponent's completely dry. We're going to outpace them, and that's good games. So had the opponent been a little bit more patient, they may have just won that game. Although, I do think the Shadow Claws were adding up, and I may have been able to Shadow Claw down. In the next match, speaking of old but gold, we have a Metham lead. Not too sure how gold this is anymore, but the opponent stays in for a minute. I've got 3 answers to it, and they come into the Stunfisk. Stunfisk is about to be meted and greeted by Hydro Pump to the face. They're not going to enjoy this one. This will just pretty much win the game on the spot. Had they decided to stay in, I would have just let the Earthquake go if they reached it, and hard swapped into Sableye if the Metham came back. In the next battle here, Feraligatr is a very tricky lead because I think it wins all even shields against Azu. I basically play this out where I don't shield anything and just go straight for player offs. I'm not messing about. Like I said, this is an ABB team, but just the pacing of Feraligatr is so scary into my whole team. It can completely run through me, so I just kind of have to play this out like this. The opponent does not go for the move immediately, allowing me to get off a second one, and I'm really happy with this. I have to pivot at this point. The opponent will look to go for a complete farm down. I'm pretty much forced to shield at least one of these moves, and I'm kind of hoping the opponent stays in here to let me take them out. They come into the Charge Bug right here. I go for a CMP tie on the return. I think this might have been a slight mistake, because as you're seeing here, well, I mean, I could shield this and farm it down, technically, so maybe I could have just done that instead, but as you can see, they make a last second move, and like, this is a little bit awkward. I wanted to get more energy here, So maybe I should have like stopped attacking or done something a little bit different. It's still a little bit tricky. We only get one Shadow Claw through. In comes Annihilate. This is absolutely perfect. Now, what the opponent does wrong here, in my opinion, is Frozen Nightslash. It means that I can overfarm until my heart's content, right? I win CMP. I can build up to 2 Seed Bombs, CMP them on the second one, and basically throw the move right away on Feraligatr. So had they built up to the Shadow Ball, it would have forced me to throw a little bit sooner, or I would have had to give the opponent a shield. So, you know, I guess that's probably 6 of one, half a dozen of the other. The game is pretty much over anyway. And at this point, guys, we're 3-2ing our way to Legend at the moment. We had 3 3-2s and 2 4-1s. In the next battle here, I decided to stay in against the Watergun Lanturn. At the very least, I decided to check the move, because Watergun Lanturn does pretty fine into Sableye, and like, Azu does pretty fine here, so I decided for some reason to play this out in a weird way. Again, you can be an ABB Andy, just swap straight out, go into Sableye. It is, like I said, a little bit awkward, but you will outpace to the move, which is kind of nice, but generally, if they decide to stay in, it's not great. I just play this out, the opponent shields back, which is pretty decent for me, and I think at this point we can just let this go. A Thunderbolt does less than half. I think it does like 45%, I want to say, 40%. As you can see, we do just hang on here. So in the in the ones, this match is extremely close now with Watergun. At this point, we get a Shadow Claw through, and I'm just hoping up energy, Sableye and Trevenant can do something. I'm expecting a hard answer to Trevenant, and here is one of them. It is Altaria. So at any cost, I have to get rid of this thing. I'm hoping the opponent's not running like a hard ABB team, where they've got like double flyer in the back, right? I have to shield. It's going to be a sky attack, but I have to shield. And basically what I'm going to look to do is build up to 2 moves, fire them straight off, and basically look to get rid of Altaria. If they let this go at this point, I should be able to Shadow Claw down, hopefully. We get to the next move. The opponent probably should have let that go at that point. Probably a little bit off track in energy. And now we have a low health Sableye. I'm going to swap straight in just in case it's like an ape or something, and it just so happens to be a Charge-a-Bug. I go for this move right away. I'm an Insta-throwing Andy. The opponent here will have to be an Insta-throwing Andy also, because if they don't, I'm going to Shadow Claw the whole way down. The opponent has to throw both moves here. They cannot full switch down or anything like that. X's are number 1, X's are number 2. And with that Shadow Claw that just went through, they're in 1 Shadow Claw range, so good games well played. My move will definitely register before theirs, and I do think I would have lived a Volt Switch from there anyway. Good games, and hopping into the next one we have another Gator. Now this is non-Shadow, and they actually come into the Clodsire. I don't have a direct answer to this. It isn't Poison Sting, and as you can see, Poison Sting is doing nothing. This move is just a waste of time, basically, against Azu. It doesn't really help it too much. I guess it sort of does over time, right? These are bulky Pokemon, the opponent lets that move go, and I just come in for the complete farm down of Sableye. I'm pretty happy to take any move here. I just want to keep my Azu alive and healthy and aligned correctly, and we do get rid of that. Now back in comes Gator, and we're looking to be in a pretty good position here. I'm going to go for Foul Play. I could full send the return, but they're going to shield everything, right? These Gen 2 starters, they shield everything. They go for a CMP tie here. I decide to shield this move, just get all shields down, get as much Shadow Claw damage for as possible, and basically look to hit it with a play rough, right? I don't want this thing, you know, running through me with shields, and because they're non-Shadow, they're forced to throw another move. This is the benefit of running Shadow, it's so much more oppressive. The opponent does not get a huge energy lead, and we're even up a shield. Now, I come into Trevenant here, and in comes the Cresselia. Because I'm up a shield, I basically could have shielded once against the Feraligatr, threw off a Seed Bomb, and look to see what's in the back. We no shield the Moonblast, it doesn't do that much. Of course, the opponent knows I'm going to build up to 100 energy and throw 2 moves, so that's going to be good games. 100 energy will give you exactly a Shadow Ball and a Seed Bomb, so if you need 2 moves for something like that, just make sure you farm up to 100. Now, the Azumarill here, I decide to skip this through. As you can see, the opponent reaches red health before me, right? That means I can take alignment here, because I live this on 1 HP. If you're in the yellow, you always live the play rough. What I decide to do here, though, is something interesting. I stop tapping here, I undercharge, because whenever you see Azu leads, they typically have very similar backlines, ghosts. In this case, they have a Gligar. But typically, I found that winning the Azu lead sometimes results in a loss because the opponent gets an energy lead and somehow wins the match from that. So I decided to play it out in that way, where I undercharge the final play rough and go for the farm down. As you can see, it's working out really well here because they have a Gligar, they're basically forced to shield. We have like 3 or 4 Shadow Claws head start, and we're basically chilling from here. We're going to shield up the move, I'm going to match shields. Ace is coming through, of course, will add up over time. I'm going to once again play to a CMP tie. The opponent pretty much has to let this go, because I think I just Shadow Claw down at this range. They let it go, I come into this, they come into the ape, and that's curtains. Good games to the opponent. The opponent does not top left, they decide to play it out the whole time, but yeah, like I said, this is just over. We do end up landing a Seed Bomb. In the ones, you just go straight Seed Bomb, by the way. You've absolutely no need to go for the big move. Now, in the next match here, we have a negative lead, we come into the Sableye, and in comes Poliwrath. Poliwrath is not an amazing answer to Sableye. I decided to go for the bait first time round, because here's the thing, right? Sableye can take any move from Poly if it's an unshadow. We're going to just take this move, I'm perfectly fine with this. and I should still be able to reach a return. The opponent does not get the debuff, we go for the next return, and if the opponent lets us go, it's going to be Trevenant versus Cresselia up a shield, which is going to be terrible, but the opponent's not going to go down 2 shields. They're going to have Azu on their Poly, and they're going to have Trevenant looking to sweep the back. The opponent's probably going to go for debuffs or skulls. Hopefully this shouldn't be of too much consequence. I'm basically going to farm up to 100 energy, I have no reason not to at this point. And yeah, we're basically fine here. The opponent gets off another Icy Wind. I'm not sure why they're going Icy Wind, as if I'm not going to swap out as soon as the Cresselia comes back. They actually go for the catching Cresselia, and this basically seals it for them. I come into Trevenant. I'm just going to get an absolutely huge farm here. I was a bit worried the opponent could start going for Grass Knot, which would be kind of annoying. The opponent goes straight for the Moonblast, which is great, and I'm going to basically look to build up and go for a CMP tie right here. This is perfect. We go for this move. Now, Poly done something good in the fact that they swapped out and banked the move, right? So this is still a little bit awkward. They're at quite low health. I'm going to overfarm here as much as I possibly can, and basically look to Seed Bomb and see what's in the back. This team is already ABA weak to Trevenant, so surely this team is not triple weak to Trevenant. That would be absolutely crazy, right? The opponent comes into a Skeledirge, which is not necessarily ABA weak. We do 4 Shadow Claws and look to basically get rid of it. So technically the team is sort of ABA weak to like Sableye or Trevenant. Bit of a crazy team by the opponent there, but we do take it, and that's good games. Now, in this next one we have a Registeel lead, which is the rank 1 Pokemon in PvPoke. I don't think this Pokemon is rank 1. It's really good in the ones, of course. In my experience, you don't see too many Regis out here. They're pretty uncommon these days. We do some decent damage here, getting them into roughly Hydro Pump range, and the opponent comes into an Altaria. So I'm pretty happy I no-shielded this. Altaria does pretty decently into Sableye, and of course Azu is a great match here. I'm going to basically farm up to 100 energy. I'm sort of at this point wondering, is it going to be Sableye? Is it going to be their own Azu? What could possibly be in the back? This is like a classic looking team of Reggie and Altaria. I think it can be Azu at times, so I'm basically hoping here that with Altaria out of the picture, Azu and Trevenant can sweep. We get up to 100 energy. This will of course take out the Altaria, and I was tempted to stay in to go for the move, but I don't want Reggie to get a bunch of energy. I'm going to swap straight. They of course bring in the Reggie to this. They stay in here to throw a move, which is quite interesting, and I actually go for a Seed Bomb Bait, thinking like, if the opponent's staying in here to throw a move, they're definitely weak to this in the back. They go for a no-shield, which is kind of crazy. I guess they wanted to just absorb the energy, and of course I'm going to shield the Zap Cannon. The opponent does not get a debuff, and in comes Ape. This is basically still game over here. All I need to do, I don't even need to throw these moves. I should just be going for fast move pressure at this point, because the Reggie's super low, the Ape will get super low with the Shadow Claws. I was going to call it for the fun, but they actually go straight Shadow Ball here. Of course that's their win con that I'm just crazy and decide to no-shield. I do no-shield some stuff like that, so if you guys ever face me in GBL, I swear just throw the big move at the end if it looks like you've 0% chance of winning, because I'm stupid, bro. I let these moves go sometimes, just for fun. Like, I'll be streaming in Discord and I'll be sitting saying like, Shadow Ball me big boy. I be stupid out here, bro. If you guys ever face me, just throw the move. Anyway guys, they go for Disarming Voice. I was not expecting that. I'm thinking this is the Reezy team, so I'm pretty happy here, apart from the fact my Azu's pretty much dead. They let that move go, in comes Poly. I bring in this knowing that they have to stay in here, and I'm also going to make a sort of nuisance of myself here. I decided to let this move go. I'm not shielding, I'm going to just make this awkward for them, but they actually come into a Whiscash. So this team right here, this is not a team that Junka showcased, or Henry showcased, or I showcased. This is a team that's just been around. It's just been one of those teams, right, that's just been around for a while. It's been here for about 2 seasons, I want to say, and I want to honestly credit the Japanese players. I think this is a Japanese team. I started seeing this team a couple of seasons ago, and I bet you that Reezy seen this team too and decided to run it with a double fighter instead of Whiscash, but this is a team that's been around. We're basically fine here at this point. We full send the return. The Poliwrath, of course, cannot take these Seed Bombs, and that's going to be good games. As you can see here at the end, we get up from like 2300 to 2433, so 130 elo Monday. Definitely very happy with this team, and I do highly recommend trying it out. I've been pretty inactive for the last couple of weeks, but with Remix coming up, you're going to see a lot more videos, so stay tuned. Thank you very much for watching, have a fantastic rest of your day, and I'll catch you all next time.